All right. I am so excited. This is developing the leader within you 2.0 lessons 3 and 4. So super excited about these 2 lessons because and I got ready for bed and I totally forgot that I had book study, even though I had just told Darren I had book study, and I like went ahead and put my drying lotion and everything on. So y'all get me in my realness tonight. Anyways, um, character. Character, I think is something that we just don't think about sometimes. Like we just go about daily life and we really just don't consider it, right? And so I really liked how he said good character builds strong trust. That the reality is leading ourselves is often the most difficult task we face every day. It's much easier to tell others what to do than ourselves, right? How easy is it for you to like pop in a team chat and give somebody else tasks to do? And then when you have to go do it, you're like, ooh, okay, right? So it's easy to tell somebody else what to do, but to look at yourself, it's a little bit different, right? So I just want to point out, I just highlighted some things, and then I have some questions from the workbook that we can talk about really quick. So it says, I find that the more I focus on valuing people, practicing self-leadership, and embracing good values, the stronger my character becomes. Having poor character will eventually derail you personally and professionally. It says that no matter what's happened in your past, you can choose a better path forward starting today. Though you cannot go back and make a brand new start, my friend, anyone can start from now and make a brand new end. And so I wrote start today. And I think about that in our business and our life, like every day's a new day, right? I thank God every morning. My friend calls it the wake up list. It was like the best thing I've ever heard. I've never heard that before. And she says every morning, she's like, thank God he put me on the wake up list. And I'm just like, you know what? Thank you, Lord, for putting me on the wake up list. Right. And so we get a fresh start every single day. It's a new day. You can do things differently, right? If you didn't like how you operated yesterday, guess what? You don't have to operate like that again today. That's your choice. You're showing up as that person and you're making that choice. So, good character, like I said, builds strong trust. If when people trust you, you have that positive impact on people. It says when your coworkers trust you, that you are more productive, you have less turnover. And it's true to say that people quit people, not companies. If you can think of people who have left your team, maybe it's not your fault, but they've probably left because of another reason. It's not Plexus's fault usually, right? It's just because something that wasn't right with them, something that maybe wasn't right with other people. But it's never just a company that they quit. It's usually people. Let's see. Oh, words are cheap. I put that in the sideline. People don't watch what you say, they watch what you do, right? And we can talk a good game all day long, but if you are not walking the talk and walking the walk, you know what I'm saying? You got to do both. If you say you're going to do something, you've got to do it. So if you're going to like open your mouth, you've got to go through with it. And I put up top here, like your team, you can't see because I use the yellow pen, but it says your team sees what you do. And so I put that page 54 and 55, if you have like the small book, is like completely highlighted for me. So if you want to look at page 54 and 55 with me, it says it's a two-way street. It takes initiative and you can't wait for others to make the first move. Leaders must be the first one to ante up. Leaders always find the ante worth risking. Sowing seeds of trust with people create the fields of collaboration necessary to get extraordinary things done in organizations. So it's up to you. It starts with you. You have to do the things. You have to ante up. Every interaction with another person either deposits into their bank account or withdraws from it. And we've talked about that before. And and I've put right here, Bob Heilig talks about the bank accounts. And so when you're on social media and you add value, you're depositing money into that bank account. But when you go ask somebody to do something for you, or you ask them to try Plexus or whatever, you're withdrawing money from your bank account. So it's just like your bank account. You can't go into the negative, right? So you have to keep adding the value. People are convinced more by what the leader does than by what the leader says. So again, you have to not only like talk it, you have to do it. So people are watching what you do. Words hold more weight than actions. People do not know you. They may assume that your words represent who you are and that walk matches your talk. As your relationship continues, it says people see what you do. And so leadership confusion happens when your words and your walk do not match. So not only will you confuse your people, you will lose your people. So if you are talking a big game and your team does not see you doing the things, you are confusing them and you're going to lose them. It's just that simple. And like I told you up top, I wrote your team sees what you do. Let's see. I see the chat. So I want to see that. A pint of example equals a gallon of advice. I love this. I love that too. Like I told you, page 54 and 55, like the whole thing, like is highlighted. Let's see. Trust is essential in leadership. If they don't trust you, they're not going to follow you, right? If you leave trust, you're going to leave leadership, and trust is the foundation of leadership. It's crucial. Developing trust is a leadership responsibility. And you must take the steps to earn your team's trust and your audience's trust. And you're just like, we have to build trust with our friends and our coworkers and our kids and, you know, your spouse or whatever it may be. Let's see. I really liked all of this. And it talks about building a platform. You're building a house brick by brick, comment by comment, conversation by conversation. Even if you could build it fast, how sturdy would it be? Right. So it means heavy lifting. It means it's going to take time, but you can't just do it super fast. It's going to take time. And this, I love how this talked about. It is a time investment. This is not something that you do quickly. This is something that's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And I think that goes back to what leadership is. Yeah. Sorry, we talked about that too. I love that part because people want to be able to trust you. People want to know that you're credible and you're doing the things that you say you're going to do. That's point blank, like the entire part here. In the authenticity, I really loved that part because we talk about being authentic all the time here. And so in the workbook, he talks about how you rate your how authentic you are. And it says that I'm aware of my own weaknesses. So do you feel like you're aware of your own weaknesses? I am honest and open with others about my weaknesses. I'm aware of my motives. I am honest and open about my motives. And I think that too, like, you know, just in life in general or business, like if your motives are not pure, people know that. They can see that coming from a mile away, right? I'm aware of my own strengths. I use my strengths for the team, not against the people I lead. I'm aware of my feelings. I am honest and open with others about my feelings. When I make a mistake, I admit it. I think that's huge. Guys, I'm the first one to say, like, if I screwed up, I'm sorry. Like, please tell me if I do something that is not right, or you see me doing something that I could do better, please come tell me. Because I tell Andrea this all the time. If you see me doing something that I need to be doing better, or you don't see me doing enough of, or I'm not doing well, please come tell me. I'm very open to criticism, and I want to grow. So that's being teachable and coachable. And so like I go to her all the time and I tell her this, please tell me, please look at what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing. Like, what do you see needs fixed, or what do I need to be doing more of? Right. Um, but I'm the first one to say, like, I will admit if I do something wrong. When I hurt another person, whether it's intentional or accidentally, I apologize. And I skipped ahead. I mean, like, I'm always up to say I'm sorry. Um, and then total and divide your average. So basically it was just, you're aware of your feelings, you're aware of your strengths, you're aware of your weaknesses. And we talked about this on the team call last week, being self-aware in general, like being that you know yourself, like, you know, Addie, you know, Joyce, you know, Lindsay, you know how you feel, you know how you are motivated, you know your strengths, your weaknesses, your thoughts, your feelings. That's being self-aware. Then he talked about self-management and humility. The humility part I thought was really good. Just because, are you humble? You know, but it's, let me see what I highlighted over here. I'm like working from both. Let me see. Character is not about intelligence, it's about making the right choices. He says, I believe that the best guardrails are the decisions you make before you face high pressure situations. So to keep yourself grounded, I liked the part where he talked about consistency, choices, and credit. I really liked that. So, am I the same person no matter who I'm with? Are you consistent? Are you making decisions that are best for others, even when another choice may be best for you? And are you quick to recognize others for their efforts and contributions? Okay, so are you able to shout them out? Are you able to give them credit? And then humility. I underlined the quote on page 63 where he talks about it is a habitual quality wherever we live by in the truth of things. We are creatures and not the creator. The truth that our life is a composite of good and evil, light and darkness. The truth in our littleness, we have been given extravagant dignity. Humility is a radical yes to the human condition. Yes, we are flawed. Yes, we make mistakes. We are human, and that's okay. And I underlined, he said, I realized that I was not on earth to see how important I could become, but how much of a difference I can make in the lives of others. And I feel like that is exactly what we do here. We are changing lives through their health, through their finances, through our community. That's what we do. I had to learn how to focus on changing and improving myself. I don't know. This must have been super important to me last night because I put a bunch of stars and arrows, and it said I had to learn how to focus on changing and improving myself. That happens only when you acknowledge that your flaws are great enough that they need to be addressed. So that's, again, being self-aware. That requires and creates humility. And when you begin to develop humility, you are in a better position to serve the people you lead. So love that part. And then the assignment for that part in the workbook just says to write a list of your weaknesses, and then how can you help people in this area? So when you teach somebody something, you grow in that area. So the exercise is to help you become more humble, not depressed. So how could you ask someone to help you in that area? So somebody can help you, or you can learn and help somebody in that area. And then we're off to courage. And you guys interrupt me anytime. This does not have to be on me. I think courage is just knowing what's right in your heart and standing up for what is right in your heart and not backing down. I don't know what country song it is. I even heard it this weekend and I thought about it last night, but it's like nobody following the rules never made history, right? So everybody that made history, if you think about it, they were rebellious in some way. And it usually was in a peaceful way. It wasn't with acts of violence and things like that. So think about that too. And I think that takes courage to do things like that. So when I thought of courage, I thought of people like Martin Luther King Jr., those types of people who had the courage enough to stand up in tough times, because it says it empowers us to do right in the face of fear, fatigue, and uncertainty. Character is not developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened. So it says, ask for God and others to help me and summon the courage to take action. Courage is being able to do the right thing. And I liked that poem where he talked about the mirror and me, looking at yourself in the mirror. So his workbook question says, most of us have a tough decision we currently are facing and we put it off. What is your tough decision? If you know you need to make it because it will benefit the team or organization, schedule it, prepare it, and follow through with it. So what is a tough decision right now that you need to make? Maybe take a second and think about that. What's a tough decision you need to make? And if you need to make it, how will it benefit the team, you? And then we want you to schedule it and prepare for it and follow through with it. I'm trying to think if I have. What's my tough decision? Does anybody have a tough decision that they're facing right now that they want to share? You guys can think about it.
I was gonna say, I feel like it takes like thought, not that like,
right,
I
but
mean,
not
there's like a lot of things that we could probably say, like, but like to really think about like putting the book into like action with that thought, but definitely something that I feel like we could all think about, because I just love how the book is like talking about, leading by example, when we so often forget that, sometimes, I mean, even myself is like, okay, like act, of course, like, when you're talking, you're saying, I think you forget as you're building your business this goes back to like, even like showing up in your team chats, right? Like you start the team chat and you're like, why is it so dead? It's like, okay, well, you have to show up in there and say, instead of saying, I did my work, maybe screenshotting your IPA and things like that. Like that really shows your team like, hey, I'm doing these things, or giving them examples of messages and stuff like that. Instead of, I think we always try to look for like things that motivate them, but like that is going to motivate people because they have that accountability. And so just like small little actions like that, I think as you grow your business will definitely help. That was just like one of the things I thought about, just because I know we can all just say, I did my IPA, but like, it's so much more impactful when you see a screenshot of an IPA that is actually all completed and stuff. I don't know, at least for me, it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. I love this chapter and it's super long, so I'm just gonna like skip ahead because I feel like we could talk about it the whole time. But page 70, again, I like underline the whole thing. Embracing good values, practicing self-leadership, and valuing people. Those things are what you need to focus on. And so some discussion questions that are in the workbook, it says, why do you think leading yourself is said to be the most difficult task in leadership? And honestly, like when I think about that, it's because it's what he said in the beginning. It's so easy to tell others what to do, but to follow through and do them yourself, I can easily give Andrea a workout and give her a killer one. And then when I think about it, I'm like, ooh, I ain't doing that, like that. It's so much easier just to tell people what to do. In your growing up years, what was emphasized more, character or appearance? What do you guys think? Drop it in the chat. When you were growing up, what was emphasized more, character or appearance? Definitely think it was appearance for sure. Now, in my home, it was definitely character, but in the outside world, it was definitely appearance for sure. When you think of character, who have been your role models? So that would be a good one to reflect on. If you could instantly change one thing about yourself internally, what would it be? So you could think about that one and ponder on that. Think about that internal change that you can make. Based on what you've learned in this lesson, what concrete, measurable step are you willing to commit to in order to grow character? And how will you empower others to hold you accountable? So I think this is like really just like leading others and digging in with your team and building that trust and showing up and doing what you say you're going to do. And so lesson 4 was creating positive change. And so Lou Holtz obviously was a great U-turn leader to turn things around when he came in. And I loved that because, you think of leadership and you think of people who come in and they turn things around. And it's just, that's such a special person, because it's not an easy job, because I relate it to like a classroom with like a bunch of like heathens, little hoodlums, who don't listen or maybe are like not doing well in school, and for a teacher to come in and turn that classroom around, right? So I relate it to those things. So I underlined everything about Lou because I love that he was a positive visionary. And a lot of things I've been listening to lately have talked about that vision. Let's see. And then of course, people do not naturally resist change. They resist being changed. So it's not the change that you resist. You don't want to change yourself. And so I thought that was really good. It says change is awkward, and he was talking about like your thumbs. And we've done that at one of the events where you put your thumbs over each other. And some people put the left over the right and some people put the right over the left. But it feels awkward when you do it the other way. And so that's change. That's what change is. Change is awkward, right? You go through a phase where you might fail and you're going to make mistakes, but it's going to be worth it. People focus on what they will have to give up. That's all they are worried about. What am I going to have to give up? Right? Like some people come into the business and they're like, well, I have to give up my Netflix tonight for a team call. Yeah, girl. Yeah, you do. Right? Like you're going to have to give that up. So that's what people focus on. And they are worried about, how is this going to affect me? That's what people are worried about. Sometimes that question makes a lot of sense, such as when you're in danger of losing your job or your home. But most of the time, life is a series of trades anyway, right? It's a time trade-off. It's a time investment. For everything you gain, you lose something. So it's unrealistic to expect not to give up anything. So I thought that was really good because when you think about it, when you gain things, something always goes away. Lola's like, I have a lot to say about this book study. She's like, Mom.
She needs a lesson in all of this. Good gravy.
I don't know. I really liked this. And I like that part on page 75 where they talked about baggage. Like everybody has baggage, but like what you allow to stay with you, and not clean out, like how they related it back to the closet and how you clean your closet out. But like your mind like stashes like 30 some years worth of trash. And then like you're stuck in your baggage. So it said our brains are like closets. Over time, they are filled with things we no longer use, things that don't fit. And every once in a while, they need to be cleaned out. And so I thought that was really good. And I thought about plexus here, where Gates said is whether we will make it obsolete or someone else will. He says he understands the price of change and willing to pay it as a leader. It's just like our brand evolution. Our leaders are like, we have to evolve or we're going to fall behind and plexus is going to be gone, right? Because people are going to like outdo us. So you have to be able to make changes and evolve with the changes that are going on in the world around you. And so I feel like that's just with anything. Like we have to be willing to change and grow. What worked for your team a year ago is not working today. I can promise you that. And Joyce can probably attest to this. She's been with me the longest. What we were doing 5 years ago is not what we were doing today, right? And so we've had to change, we've had to learn, we've had to grow, we've had to fail forward in so many ways. And I think he talks about that somewhere in this chapter. But I just really, that's what I thought about, oh, and I put this with a heart. How far can you travel isn't the point. It's how far you are able to take your people. That's the purpose of leadership. How far you can travel isn't the point. It's how far you're able to take your people. That's your vision. You're driving your car, right? It's not the destination that we're focused on, right? How many people can you get into the car to go with you towards the destination? Yeah. Are you talking about the people may feel alone in the process? Is that yeah. And that everybody feels that way. Like I tell Andrea all the time, I feel like I'm doing this alone. She's like, I know, I feel the same way. And I'm like, I'm right here. You're not doing this alone. I'm right here. Right. So it's like, we all feel that way. Like at some point we're like, we're doing this alone. This is terrible. Like, and Andrea's talking to me and she's like, I feel alone. I'm like, I know you do, babe. But it's just, that's what you feel, right? And that's a valid feeling. And so their emotions overwhelm them, anxiety rises, motivation falls. And so it says, as leaders, we become impatient and we want them to get a grip and get over it. It's like, you're like, but you have to show patience, acknowledge their humanness, and work with them. Not only will this help their process change, but it will help you to influence them. And so you gain that trust, you have that influence, you've impacted them, and you're able to move forward. So I do love that part. And it says to realize people are always at different levels in their readiness to change. Not everybody is going to be willing to do the things that you're ready to do, right? It says, let's see, we overestimate the event and underestimate the process. And I love that part. It's planning ahead, communicating with the people, planning the process. What's it going to look like, right? And I wrote Allie's name by the acronym that he did for plan ahead. I wrote Allie's name by it. But you have to get your people's buy-in, right? Before you do anything, you got to talk with your people. Like when Andrea is ready to do something, she will come to me. She will go to Heather, right? And she's like, okay, I have this idea. What do you all think? What do you think your team will think? Right? Because Andrea can't just go in the team chat and be like, this is what we're doing. And everybody's like, she just changed everything, right? That doesn't work. She has to come to me, and then she's got to go to Heather, and then I go to people and get their buy-in. And then I'm like, okay, great. This is it. Like, let's do it. And then you can execute the plan and announce it to everybody. But you have to get buy-in first. It's just like a push month. Like when I went Emerald, or she, when she went Emerald and Sapphire, you can't just say, okay, we're going Sapphire. This is it. No, like I have to get the team's buy-in. Like, are you all ready? Is this a month that you all are ready to dig in and do the things and show up and like be intense with some things? Like that's what it takes to like do things. So I really liked this where he talked about like you have to notify key people first. You can't just go straight to the team and make all those changes. And so it says good leaders don't share information about changes with everyone. They don't try and make communication fair. They make it strategic. Like, I love you all, but for me to go to somebody who just started and talk some important business to would be ridiculous, right? I'm going to go to people who have been with me and who are showing up and who are doing the things. And that's who I'm going to communicate with first. Right. And so I want you all to think about that as you're operating your teams and you're doing things. Think about your key people. Let's see. It says if you don't have buy-in, the plan will never work. So it's, just with anything. Change is always necessary. Things work today, it will continue to work tomorrow, but you must either evolve or stay stagnant. So you have to be able to change. You've got to be able to evolve and do the things. Let's see. Most leaders only recognize the need for change after the decline has set in. They don't take action until something is broken. So you got to be proactive. You've always got to be looking at things like things maybe aren't going as well. Maybe this isn't working like I thought. Maybe this isn't what our team needs right now. Maybe this is what our team needs right now. This is what our customers need right now. Right. So that's why we're doing more challenges. We're trying to get that community up and give them more customer care and things in the team page. That's not just like shout outs and things. Right. So we're always evaluating things. And again, thinking about the brand evolution, right? Plexus is evolving. They're not staying stagnant. Good leaders always allow time for acceptance. Some things aren't always quick. And we tell you guys that you can't just do something and expect it to work like the next week or the next day or whatever. Like give it 60 days, give it 90 days, see if it catches on, give it that time, and then evaluate. Let's see. Communication clear and simple.
Hey, Brianna, really quick, I want to just
Yeah.
talk. So what you were saying is like, basically, if something's not working, and I want you guys to think about this, look, because I used to not evaluate my month to month within my team. And this is like completely different than saying like, not sticking something out 90 days. But if you're, for instance, if you're like, man, I'm sending all these messages and that's not working, but, or you're like, man, I'm asking for all these shout outs and I'm using this message, but it's not working. It's like, I always tell people, evaluate that, like go through the steps and see if your team was adding a ton last month, what changed. And just don't be afraid to switch things up, switch the message up, switch the way you're doing things up, make things fun. Right. And so I just feel like if you evaluate and say, okay, we're doing this and we've been doing this for the last 6 months and we haven't changed it yet, just think about those things, because just a small little pivot within your team can really skyrocket where you're going. And it can also, because sometimes people do become stagnant because it's the same thing over and over and over. And yes, consistent habits, the fun, like the mundane things like our IPA, those things will never change just because those are just foundational. But like with what you're doing inside your team, just be aware of those types of things. And that's why I always think it's super good to evaluate those things. So something I learned way late in the game. So just passing that knowledge on to you guys.
Yeah. And I love that because like she said, just a small tweak sometimes makes a huge, huge difference. So I was looking at the heading into action on page 88. Again, like my whole page is like highlighted. It says every time the leader does something positive, it increases the amount of change he possesses. If a leader keeps doing doing the things that weaken the relationship, it's possible for him to become bankrupt with his people. So you got to keep thinking, if you're not changing, you're doing the same things that are tearing your team apart, then you're going to lose your people. It takes change to make change. So if you're wanting to change your team, guess what happens? It starts with you. The more change you have in your pocket, the more change you can make in the lives of the people. The less change, the harder it is to move into action. So I love that. How much change do you have in your pocket? And then expect problems. We're always going to have problems, right? Like problems, it's just everyday life. That's life. Life is problems, but it's how you deal with it, right? Just like Joyce today. She said she had a bad day, but she did her workout anyway, right? It's 50-50. Life is 50-50. If you follow Emily Gibson, she's at Disneyland right now. Dean got sick. She's like, oh, this is the 50% part of my day. Like, and then she gets her turn in Disneyland. She's like, this is my 50% good part, right? Like it's just life, right? And like I love her view on it. Like when he got car sick in the car, she's like, this is my 50% bad. The good's coming. The good is coming. And so what an outlook on life to have. When you have a problem, you're like, oh, this is my 50% bad. What good is coming? What good is coming? Um, so the workbook says, what problems do you expect to face? What will you need to communicate about them? And how will you encourage people through them? And immediately when I read this last night, I thought about summer. Summer's coming, and everybody's like, oh, I have vacation. Oh, my kids are home. Oh, I don't have a babysitter. Oh, I go to the pool. Oh, I'm on beach vacation. Stop. Like, like really, what do we need to do to communicate these things? And how am I, as a leader, am I going to encourage them through it? Right. So that last night when I read this was my problem that I expect to face on the team, right? Is the summer months. We always know it happens, right? But it's just our thoughts around it, really, and how we handle it. And so it starts with me as a leader. But that's what I thought about. So you can think of a problem that you're going to face. And then always point to the successes. I love shouting people out. I love doing those things. I think we need to do it more. I think you guys need to get better about shouting yourself out, shouting your team out. If you see that they have made a post, if they've sent a message, if you've sent a message to a chicken lister, if you've done your IPA all week and you've been consistent, like shout yourself out, like let people love on you. But it says, how do you plan to celebrate this success? So how will you recognize and thank the people who contributed to its success? So when you rank up, when you hit that goal, how are you going to recognize and thank the people who contributed to it? Right? How are you going to recognize those things? So I loved that. So the discussion questions, because I know we went over, when you have to deal with a change imposed on you or by someone else, how does it usually make you feel and how do you respond? So I feel like how you respond to things is everything in life, right? And so it's something that I've worked on really, really like just a lot. What is the most difficult change you've had to go through in your life? So what change have you had to go through already that was super difficult? Would you rather lead others to change or be led through the change by someone else? For you, what is the most difficult part of leading others to change? So think about that when you guys are like working this week. Think about objections that people give you and you're changing their mindset, right? You're changing them. So what is the most difficult part of leading others through that change? What was your single greatest takeaway from this lesson? And how was it valuable? So I want you to reflect on lesson 4 and what was your greatest takeaway. And the next time you need to be a change agent on your team, what will you do differently? So the next time a change is coming in the team, what will you do differently? And I can drop these discussion questions too, so you all can see them. So if you're like me, I'm a visual person. I have to see it. So that is all we have for tonight and all the time. We actually went over and I apologize. Lesson 5 and 6 is next week. So we've got problem solving and attitude. I like that part. Somebody's going to need an attitude adjustment. Somebody needs one daily here in this house.
Girl, same.
Yes.
Yeah, let's drop those in the chat, like questions, and maybe we could just discuss it like on the side, just kind of going deeper into those questions, really like putting our reading into use. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if I don't talk about it, like just kind of like answer those questions, then it kind of is fleeting. So maybe we could just drop some of our takeaways. So thank you guys so much for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you all so much. We know it is a time investment for your business and for yourself, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, guys, we will see you Wednesday on the team call.
Oh yeah. Like Monday. Bye y'all.
Bye.